Tennessee had two official visitors, one from the high school rank, one from the transfer portal for official visits this weekend. How did they go? New names in the transfer portal Tennessee is attacking, plus a roster reset. Who's coming back? Who's gone? All that and more. Tennessee football here on a Monday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols, and I'm your host, Harry Kane. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day. This episode is brought to you in part by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege. Use the promo code LockedOnCollege for a first of all as a match up to $100 as daily fantasy sports made easy. Got a mailbag edition of the show coming up tomorrow, so any questions you guys may have, comments, concerns, get them in at _Kaner, at Locked On Vols, and in the comment section on the YouTube channel. Speaking of that YouTube channel, getting close to 10K. Let's continue that push. Let's get it this week. I think we can. And really do appreciate you guys for listening and watching wherever you get your podcast. All right. So on today's show, going to recap the recruiting weekend that was and some new names in the transfer portal potentially. Roster reset. My guy Robo22 chimed in and said we needed a roster reset, and I couldn't agree more. So we'll kind of go through the positions, who's coming back, who's made announcements, who is yet to make announcements, all that and more. And then in segment number 3, an article from CBS Sports I thought was pretty neat. Winners and losers of college football this past season. I'll give you my takes on some of their takes. So let's buckle up and get into it. Tennessee had two official visitors on campus this past weekend. One for the transfer portal that was tied in from Notre Dame, Holden Staes. The other, a defensive back from the high school ranks, and Jaren Sensabaugh. Jaren Sensabaugh, of course, Sensabaugh is a popular football name, especially in East Tennessee and the Kingsport Dobbins Bennett's realms. I actually played with Cody at Carson Newman for a couple of years. Nonetheless, a lot of successful football players in the Sensabaugh family, and Jaren goes to, I believe, Innsworth, and he was a Vanderbilt commit, decommitted, and is going to Missouri next weekend. He's been to UCLA, just coming off a Tennessee visit, obviously, this weekend. So he's a guy that Tennessee would take for sure, a defensive back. And I think the more and more I have conversations with people, even if Kai Bates elected to come to Tennessee, I think Tennessee would still take Jaren Sensabaugh if they wanted, or if he wanted to come in. So that is kind of where the high school board is right now. Jaren Sensabaugh was on campus, official visit with Tennessee this past weekend, but everybody wants to know about the transfer portal. Seen some posts, seen some tweets and all that type of stuff about how Tennessee's kind of been slow out of the gate. There's been nothing doing for the Volunteers in the transfer portal, and to an extent, I think at this point in time last year, I think Tennessee already had 2 gets from the transfer portal. A lot of the times these guys want to get out and make visits and kind of go through this process again. And that's what Holden Staes was doing at Tennessee this past weekend. Again, Notre Dame, from Notre Dame, enter the transfer portal. He's tied in. He's got multiple years of experience left. We went over his stats on last week's shows. Tennessee's in it. Oklahoma is in it. I believe he's going to go visit Oklahoma next. Washington is in it as well. You really like to close some things out, when you're on campus, right? And it's never a great feeling when they leave campus and go somewhere else, but of course it's recruiting, and we know how things happen from time to time. But Holden Staes is a guy that Tennessee really likes. He's probably number 1 on the board, and I think number 2, and a guy that I believe Tennessee's going to see hopefully a couple of times this week, go and see, and then hopefully host this upcoming weekend, is a tight end from Kentucky that just entered the portal, and his name is Jordan Dingle. Jordan Dingle played 2 years at Kentucky, only 4 games it looks like, according to the stats I just pulled up on ESPN. I'm not at Kentucky athletics.com or anything, but 11 receptions, 198 yards, no touchdowns. Had his best game of the season, obviously, or one of his best games of the season against Tennessee. 4 receptions, 61 yards. 6'4", 240, and a guy that kind of lines up and does a bunch of different things on the line, H-back, out wide. Obviously not the same offense, and how the tight ends are important, and for Liam Cohen, very, very important for Alex Golesh. Just kidding, he's no longer here. Joey Halsley and Josh Heupel. So Jordan Dingle is a guy that I think Tennessee's going to try to talk to you this week and try to get here for an official visit this upcoming weekend, and he is a name for sure to be on the lookout for. If I'm kind of, and again, I'm not Josh Heupel, and I think you're to a point now to where if somebody wants to jump in the boat right now, you say, all right, let's go. I would kind of peg these tight ends prospects in the portal with Holden Staes at 1, Jordan Dingle at 2, and then a name we introduced you guys to last week in Baurer Sharp, the tight end from southeastern Louisiana, an FCS program. Utah is very much in that mix as well, along with Tennessee. Former quarterback that transitioned to tight end, and Tennessee really likes Baurer Sharp as well. I think those are the 3 tight ends that Tennessee is kind of pinpointing. And again, guys, we talked about it a little bit on the VolQuest podcast last week, if you guys listened, and Brent Hubbs took the stance of and this is before the flip of Jonathan Eccles to USF, okay? So this is before that happened. And a lot of people are saying, well, was he processed? Absolutely not. He was not processed, which in layman's terms mean was he cut from the recruiting class? No, he was not. Tennessee was going to sign him. Tennessee was going to have him here on campus. He was a long-time commit in this class, and Tennessee had to work to keep him last summer. Were there some other tight end targets later in the cycle that Tennessee liked more? I think so. But Tennessee swung and missed. And potentially you could add multiple tight ends in this class, but you didn't. And, who would have known if you can get 2 of those guys, what would happen with Eccles? Bottom line is, he was not processed. Tennessee was going to sign him, and he was going to be on campus as an early enrollee. The flip to Alex Golesh, though not shocking, I get it because of relationships and all that. I still think Jonathan Eccles, though he's not, he might not be an all-star ever. He might be. I think he's better than USF. Just not a good look in terms of optics. Just really not. Nonetheless, I get to that point in saying, we were talking on the VolQuest podcast last week, and Brent Hubbs made the point, obviously there's a need at tight end, but would you really want to bring in 2 tight ends in this era of football? Both those tight ends are going to want to play and come here to play. What's that say to Ethan Davis? I mean, Ethan Davis is going to play no matter what. I mean, he's your starting tight end right now. He's your only scholarship tight end with a bit of experience. Only one of 2 scholarship tight ends on the roster when you're looking ahead to next year right now. But I think this changes things. I mean, you've got to bring in multiple guys in the transfer portal at tight end. You've got to. I mean, Ethan Davis is going to play. And you tell these guys in the transfer portals at the tight end position, like, hey, this is how important our tight ends are in our offense. This is what they do. Come compete. This guy's going to play. We're looking for a running mate with this guy. And then who knows? Maybe we can play 3. They've always made the comments of saying they got to have at least 2. They want to have 3. Never had 3 in this offense. I mean, you've got to go and take 2 tight ends from the transfer portal, in my opinion. All right, so Holden Staes was here on campus, had a lot of great things to say about Tennessee, but he does leave without a commitment to my knowledge, and Tennessee will continue to try to stay in that one. Jaren Sensabaugh, defensive back from the high school ranks, same thing, was on campus, had a lot of great things to say about Tennessee, left campus without a commitment to my knowledge. Tennessee will continue to work in that one up until signing day. I mentioned the new name at tight end, Jordan Dingle from Kentucky, Baurer Sharp, tight end from southeastern Louisiana. That was last week. Utah's in that mix as well. Back to Holden Staes, Washington, Oklahoma in that mix as well. Jaren Sensabaugh, Missouri, UCLA in that mix. And Kamari Ramsay, a safety from UCLA, is a new target, as well as Chris Brazzell II, a wide receiver from Tulane. So those are a couple of names from the transfer portal. Okay, so we'll continue to give updates right here on Locked On Vols every single day where Tennessee is in the transfer portal, and hopefully there will be some commitments to begin starting to roll in. When we come back, a roster reset. Who is gone? Who is coming back? Who has decisions to make? That and a whole lot more next on Locked On Vols. Passion, drive, patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money is back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive today at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, as I said in segment number 1, our guy Robo22 over on YouTube, he's a VolQuest member as well. He commented on one of the shows I did Friday. Yeah, if you're watching or listening to this, I did 2 shows on Friday. One to start the day as we always do, and another one later on in the evening when Tyler Barron entered the portal, and a lot of things happened. Jonathan Eccles flipped, and it was reported that Danico Slaughter is going to enter the portal as well. So I did a show Friday evening about that, so you can go back and check that out as well. But let's get it caught up here. Robo22 wants to know kind of a roster reset, who's coming, who's going, all that type of stuff. That's a great idea. Let's continue to kind of keep our understanding here what this roster looks like. Before we get into position by position, do want to remind you there's been 6 players officially have entered the transfer portal from Tennessee. Expecting one more for sure, in my opinion, earlier this week. I mean, it's just a matter of time whenever the paperwork processes, and that's Danico Slaughter. And, we'll see about some other guys. What's Gabe Judulali going to do? What's Tamarian McDonald going to do? I could, potentially see those 2 guys not being on Tennessee's roster, next year. Again, a lot of people are frustrated with, NIL or saying, the collective's bad and all that type of stuff. I mean, with each of these players, especially these COVID seniors that have another year left, I mean, as a collective and as a player, you can't afford to bring them back all. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't afford to bring everybody back. And just because you can afford, like Juice Wells reportedly coming to Tennessee, that fell through. In my opinion, it's not because Tennessee couldn't pay Juice Wells what he wants, but what message does that send to the rest of your team? What does that say about you if you, for lack of a better term, no, I'm not going to say that. If you use a large portion of your funds on one player, that's not good business. That's not good business. So my point is, with these COVID seniors, there's 20 plus of them. You got to sit down and have real live conversations here. Like, all right, here's what your worth is. Here's what we're willing to pay you. And they could say, all right, well, we like that, we'll come back. Or, okay, well, we don't like that, we'll go test the waters and see what else is out there for me. And so I think that's kind of a lot of how this is kind of working moving forward in this era of college football. So anyway, let's look at the players who have darted the transfer portal. There's been, as I mentioned, 6 players. 7 I'm expecting today with Danico Slaughter. I'm expecting his name to officially appear in that sometime today, and then we'll see about a couple more. But Tyler Barron, Addison Nichols, Jack Luttrell, Brandon Turnage, Mo Clipper, Warren Burrell, and then Danico Slaughter, who's expected to go in sometime today. Let's look at this, okay? So at the quarterback position, we know Joe Milton is gone. Nico Iamaleava is back. Jake Merklinger, the quarterback of the class of 2024. I'm not going to put guys in the signing class in here or guys in the committed class in here, but Jake Merklinger is worth mentioning because he could very well be your backup quarterback next year. Gaston Moore, we'll see. He went through senior day activities. He has another year of COVID eligibility left. I'm sure Josh Heupel's trying to bring him back as well. It's just another veteran quarterback who could be Tennessee's backup quarterback to begin the season potentially if Merklinger is not ready. But Nico's back. We'll see about Gaston Moore. Joe Milton's gone. Jake Merklinger will be here, and Navy Schuler will be on roster. At the running back position, Jalen Wright has yet to make an announcement. We fully expect him to declare for the NFL draft. That's my assumption. Jabari Small has a COVID year left. He hasn't made a decision yet, but I expect at this time, I would expect Jabari Small not to be a part of this team next year. But again, no announcements have been made yet. Coming back in that room, Dylan Sampson will be back, Cam Selden will be back, Khalifa Keith, and Deshaun Bishop as of right now. And of course, a lot of these announcements could be made tomorrow on even some of these players that I'm saying are coming back, announcements to be in the transfer portal. Brew McCoy, we'll see. Feels better now than it has in a long time that he could return, but of course, injury. We'll see. He's yet to make an announcement. Gone from that group is Ramel Keaton. He's exhausted his eligibility. Coming back, Squirrel, White, Dante Thornton. You've got Chaz Nimrod, Caleb Webb, Nathan Laycock, and Nate Spillman. At tight end, you have both your 6-year tight ends are gone. Jacob Warren and McCowan Castles are gone. You lost in your recruiting class, Jonathan Eccles, which is very important in this conversation because at current standing, the only scholarship tight ends you have on your roster right now, as we spoke on in segment number 1, is Ethan Davis, who will be a starter next year for sure, and Emmanuel Okoye, who at this time I don't think is going to be ready to help contribute. But everybody's saying, oh, but I thought he was super athletic, and I thought he was this, and I thought he was this, and the coaching staff said this. And just because a guy's super athletic doesn't mean he's ready to contribute. Dude was playing football at the NFL Academy in London a year ago, and that was his first year ever playing football, ever. Again, he was found on the basketball court and then, recruited to the NFL Academy. So just because he's not ready to contribute doesn't mean he's a bust or anything, but just because you're athletic doesn't mean you're ready to roll. But we'll see what happens. That's why tight ends in the transfer portal are so important for Tennessee. Let's go to offensive line. We do know that John Campbell is coming back. Okay, he's made that announcement. We do know that J.J. Crawford, Ollie Lane are gone. They don't have any eligibility left. Addison Nichols and Mo Clipper have entered the transfer portal. They're gone. Decisions to be made in terms of if they want to come back. Cooper Mays feels like there's a pretty good chance he's back. Javonte Spraggins feels like there's a good chance he's back. Dane Davis and Jackson Lampley feels like those guys will be back as well. I feel good about that group of 4 right there with decisions to make. But again, no decisions have been announced just yet. Coming back on that offensive line, again, I'm not mentioning every scholarship player, but some notables. Andre Carrick will be back. Gerald Mincy was a redshirt junior this year, so he's got eligibility. Shamrod Umarov is going to be back, the offensive tackle. Bison Lang, Aiden Bussell, 2 freshmen that were in that class last year. Ryan Grant, an offensive tackle. Those are some notables. And I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but those are some notables on who's going to be back for this offensive line at this time. Let's flip the defense. Defensive line. We know that Tyler Barron has entered the transfer portal, so he is gone. Karat Garland and Roman Harrison have exhausted their eligibility, so they are gone. Decisions to be made. Omari Thomas, Omar Norman Lott, and Elijah Simmons. Feel good about Big O returning. Feel good about Omar Norman Lott returning. And I feel good about Elijah Simmons returning. So, again, no announcements have been made, but I feel good about that trio coming back to campus. But they do have decisions to be made. Got notables who are set to come back and play on this defensive line. James Pierce, Joshua Josephs, Caleb Herring, David Hobbs, Bryson Eason, Tyree West, Dominic Bailey, and Tyree Weathersby. Weathersby, a freshman who I think would have gotten some PT this year, but he got hurt during fall camp. Linebackers, we know that Aaron Beasley's gone. He's exhausted his eligibility. We know that Keenan Peely is back. I did a short little video on that on Friday, so everybody listening, I did not put that. I actually did like 2 episodes and a little breaking news video on YouTube on Friday. I didn't put it on the audio side. But anyway, I did speak briefly on Keenan Peely coming back. Just huge, just massive. Again, it's like essentially getting somebody out of the transfer portal this year at a position of need, and that's Keenan Peely at linebacker. Sure, he was a part of the process last year. He started game number 1, but he played 1 game for you, and that was it. And so getting him back, monumental for Elijah Herring, Arian Carter, Jeremiah Thielander. So big for those guys. So at linebacker, Beasley gone, Peely is back. And those ones, the notable ones that I just mentioned, Arian Carter, Elijah Herring, Jeremiah Thielander, Caleb Perry, Jalen Smith, and a notable will be Edwin Spillman out of the class of 2024, and Jordan Burns as well. Let's go to star. Tamarion McDonald. What's he going to do? All right. I don't think he's going to the NFL. He does have another year. Is he going to enter the transfer portal, or will he come back to campus? We'll find out. We'll see. He's got a decision to make. His backups, Jordan Thomas, Will Brooks, both going to be on the roster next year. Safety, Wesley Walker. He has a year left. Does he want to come back? Does he want to use that year somewhere else? I don't know. He's got a decision to make. We do know that Jalen McCullough is gone. He has exhausted all of his eligibility. We know that Jack Luttrell has entered the transfer portal. Behind those guys, Andre Turrentine will be back, and John Slaughter will be back. Again, just some notables, not every scholarship player. And then at cornerback, Gabe Judy Lawley, what's he going to do? I mean, guys, remember, he's played 5 years. 3 years at Vanderbilt, 1 year at BYU, and then 1 year here at Tennessee. He's got 1 year left. Does he want to test the waters of the NFL draft? Does he want to use his eligibility and go somewhere else again, making it 3 schools in 6 years? I don't know. Does he want to come back to Tennessee next year? I don't know. He's got a decision to make. That one's still looming. We do know that Kamal Hadden is gone. We know that Danico Slaughter is expected to be gone. It was reported on Friday that he is going to enter the transfer portal, so we're expecting him to be gone. Brandon Turnage and Warren Burrell have already entered the transfer portal, and it was announced last night. Warren Burrell committed to Georgia Tech. Good for him. Go out and go and ball, man. Go and ball. He's going to have 4 or 5 picks next year. Just watch. Go and ball. Happy for him. But those guys are gone, and notables coming back at the cornerback position: Ricky Gibson, Jordan Matthews, Christian Conyer, Deshaun Rucker. What's he going to do, right? And Christian Harrison as well. So, Robo 22, man, appreciate it. That was a good segment. It was a needed segment, right? And I'm sure I missed a player or two around, but that's kind of where we are right now entering Monday morning. As I say all the time, it can change by the second. So just be ready for some sudden movements. I do believe there'll be some news on a Monday as well. So, again, we'll recap everything that is on a Monday on tomorrow's Locked On Vols. But that's kind of where we stand position by position at this time. All right, when we come back, CBS Sports put out some winners and losers of college football and the 2023. I'll tell you which ones I agree with. That and a whole lot more. Coming up next, right here on Locked On Vols. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than your 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. With basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League. It's a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, LeBron James plus Travis Kelce, 10.5 combo 3-pointers made and receptions. Judging on the performances yesterday, I think that was a pretty safe over as well, or more than as well. Plus, if you go to PricePicks.com, put in the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, you'll get a first deposit match up to $100. If I put in $99, they're going to match me $99 on my first deposit, and they will do the same for you as well. That's PricePicks.com/LockedOnCollege. PricePicks.com/LockedOnCollege to get an instant deposit match up to $100. That's all at PricePicks. So we got winners and losers of 2023. CBS Sports put out this article over the weekend, and I kind of went through it, and I was enjoying it. I agree with a lot of this stuff. A couple things I don't agree with, but for the full article, you go ahead and check it out over at CBSSports.com. A couple of the winners I'm going to highlight that they mentioned. Winners, Texas. So by any measure, the Longhorns are actually back. Yeah, I would imagine so. Going to the college football playoff, winning the conference, your star quarterbacks announcing you're coming back for year number 1 in the SEC. I would agree with that. Texas is back. Texas is a winner. Pac-12 football being a winner. Oh boy, heck yes. And it's kind of a shame now. You saw all that good football this year and that late, Pac-12 after dark and all that fun stuff. And I mean, it was an incredible swan song. I mean, you got teams from the Pac-12, of course, going to the Big Ten. You got teams from the Pac-12 going all over the place. The Big 12 and joining different leagues and everything because of conference expansion. And if this was it for the Pac-12, which looks like it's going to be it, what a year it was. What a year it was. League championship was pretty much a college football play-in game against Oregon and Washington. 4 Pac-12 teams finished ranked in the college football playoff top 20. 4 others had stints in the polls. Just a whole lot of fun in terms of the quarterbacks of that position or in that league and the league overall. Northwestern coach David Braun, of course, was thrown the keys to the program after everything that went on with Pat Fitzgerald over the summer, and he took a 1-11 team to 7-5 amid all those circumstances. Good job for him. Transfer quarterbacks. We're talking winners in college football according to CBS. Listen to this again. Listen to this on transfer quarterbacks. 3 quarterbacks named finalists for the Heisman Trophy this year. All 3, amazingly, were transfers. Of course, Jaden Daniels of LSU, he won the Heisman Trophy. He was a transfer a couple years ago from Arizona State. Washington's Michael Penix Jr. came from Indiana. You have Bo Nix, who us in the SEC know he came from Auburn. You also had transfer quarterbacks such as Dylan Gabriel, Cameron Ward, Caleb Williams, who won the Heisman last year, Caden Salter, who transferred from Tennessee because of some off-the-field issues. They all balled this year. Well, Caleb Williams not so much, but anyway, he'll be a top 2 pick. They all balled this year. More than 100 quarterbacks have already entered the transfer portal since it officially opened last Monday. 15 sitting Power 5 starting quarterbacks. But it was a hit this year. It was a hit this year in terms of the production from the transfer quarterbacks. There's a couple more as well. Go check it out. Losers in college football this year per CBS. Ohio State coach Ryan Day. All right, I can buy into this a little bit. Remember that emotional, him calling out Lou Holtz and all that? That was really, really weird after he beat a pedestrian Notre Dame team this year. Yeah, I remember that too. That was a weird moment. And then for the third straight year, you lost to your rival, and that's Michigan. So, yeah, not the best year for Ryan Day when everything was sitting up well in the world, but you lose that one game, and of course, it changes your season. Plus, your starting quarterback, Kyle McCord, enters the transfer portal after the year. What's going on there? But CBS Sports does say this at the very end. This is the last sentence, and I couldn't disagree with it anymore. The Buckeyes are starting over on offense, which is the last thing Day needs as he enters a new era of Big Ten on the hot seat. What? Just because you're not... Jim Harbaugh couldn't beat Ohio State for the longest time until he finally did. Now he's made a run of it. Just because Ryan Day can't beat Michigan here lately, he's not on the hot seat. Are you kidding me? That is so preposterous. Ridiculous. Couldn't disagree with that anymore. But the overall sentiment of Ryan Day, I'll get behind that as being a loser in 2023. USC, Southern Cal, couldn't agree more. 7-5? 7-5 and lost, lost 5 of the 6 games in the regular season. You needed triple overtime to beat Arizona. You needed a 2-point conversion to beat Cal. Your reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, so pedestrian this year. Yeah, Lincoln Riley, not a good year for you over at USC. So USC being a loser, can get behind that. Big 12 newcomers. I thought this was interesting. Houston, UCF, BYU, Cincinnati, all enter the Big 12 this year after successful stops previously. They won a combined 18-30, 8-28 in conference play during their first season in Big 12 football. Yeah, grass is not always greener. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's going to be greener. They're getting payouts. I mean, they're going to adjust just fine, okay? Recruiting's going to take an uptick, but, that first season, not so great. Arkansas is a loser. Couldn't agree more. After back-to-back winning season with Sam Pittman, the Razorbacks were just horrendous this year. Made an interesting offensive coordinator hire with Sam Pittman certainly just retaining his job this year, but is going to certainly be on the hot seat entering the 2023 season. If I could add another one to this list, it would certainly be South Carolina with all the talk and hype and everything entering the season, and South Carolina's not even going bowling. Sheesh. How embarrassing is that? UAB with Trent Dilfer. There's a spot on here about how he's a loser this year. And I thought it was interesting because talking about former players turned coaches, and you're number one. Everybody talking about Deion Sanders, who didn't make this list, even though Colorado's not going bowling. Okay. Best, 4-8 team in the country. Okay. But tough sledding for Trent Dilfer this year in his first season at UAB for sure. Pittsburgh's on this list. I would add South Carolina on this list for sure, but thought this was kind of fun. Winners and losers of the 2023 season, according to CBS Sports. There's plenty more on this list. I encourage you to go check that out. Read it. It's a free article over at cbssports.com. All right, that's going to be it here for your Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Daily updates, daily reminders, daily check-ins with Tennessee and the transfer portal. What's to come the rest of Monday? We'll chat about it all on Tuesday. Don't forget your mailbag questions. Get those comments in. Those questions at YouTube or at _Caner and at Locked On Vols. Until then, guys, when you guys take over the show, have a great rest of your Monday, everybody.